David Moyes must be absolutely cock-a-hoop with, I was going to say, Mohammed Kudus in particular, and then Mavropanos, but probably all of the transfer signings that were made in the summer window. We haven't had a chance to look at Kudus and Mavropanos properly until the game that we just had in Europe. And let's be honest, it wasn't against the best team in the world. But you know what? In the case of Kudus, that's fine, because actually previously he has played against a lot of the best teams in Europe, and that's exactly how he plays. He had a ridiculously good goal-scoring record last season. So I think what we saw in, let's be fair, a game in which we struggled for large parts of it to break the opposition down, what we saw was pretty much what we can expect to see from him. For once, I think the highlight reel had been reflective of what he does. He loves to travel with the ball. He's strong. He's very, very fast, and he's got an eye for goal. That'll do, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with those attributes at all. And I was absolutely delighted with what I saw. And I just think David Moyes must be looking at it and thinking, well, you know what? As a transfer strategy in the window, it couldn't have worked out much better when you consider what Ward Prowse is doing. Edson Alvarez looks absolutely brilliant. Kudus has given us a real option. And when I say real option, I mean a starting first-team option. And then Mavropanos looks like he's going to be an excellent acquisition at centre-half. You know, I'm not suggesting Mavropanos goes into the first team and, you know, pushes Zuma out the team or anything. I'm not suggesting that yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing more. But we'll get to him in just a bit. The Kudus one, though, I'm thrilled. I've been a little bit worried, much like a lot of other people, I'm sure, with the recent speculation surrounding Jarrod Bowen. Jarrod Bowen's contract talk seemed to have, I want to say stalled, let's say stuttered. Let's go with stuttered, shall we? I still think he is highly likely that he will sign, but it's taken a while. And when these contract talks become a bit protracted and they drag out a little bit, you start to worry. Particularly with a player as good as Jarrod Bowen. Jarrod Bowen, if he plays all games, is the sort of player that in all competitions will get into double figures for goals from that right-hand side. I think the best thing that I can say about what I've seen in Kudus is it makes me more confident that actually if the worst were to happen and Bowen were to leave, I don't want him to leave. I really don't. We are stronger having the option of Bowen and Kudus to play there. Plus, I think both players have some level of versatility that they can play in more than one position. But it does make me think that were the worst to happen and we were to lose Jarrod Bowen, well, we can handle it. We can handle it. And whilst I say if Jarrod Bowen played all season on the right-hand side in the position that he plays, I think he'd get into double figures in goals. I think it's pretty safe to say so would Mohammed Kudus. I don't think we would see an awful lot of difference in terms of output. But, again, every additional player that you can get with quality improves the squad. So I think it's what you don't get is the drop-off. We had no Bowen in the European game. No problem. No Bowen, no problem. There was no drop-off in quality because Kudus can provide the same goal threat. Cuts in, left-footed, provides a goal threat. Yeah, I know, he scored it with his head. But let's also be reflective here. We've been waiting a long time, well, I say a long time, I've been waiting 3 or 4 games for James Ward Prowse to get a direct free kick. And we haven't really won any, so he hasn't been able to take one. Oh, the first person that won us a direct free kick in a danger area was Kudus. It was him that got fouled, and that's why James Ward Prowse got to take his free kick. Okay, didn't turn out as we might have hoped, but it all happened. So, you know, someone that can provide a goal threat, create free kicks, particularly bearing in mind we've got a free kick specialist, and play so well on that right-hand side, it becomes a hell of a good option there. So I'm really, really delighted to see it, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I don't think we're too far off, actually, as a squad now. We could talk about it in other days, but, you know, there's real depth there on that right-hand side. There's real depth in central midfield, real depth at centre-back. I think if we get depth at striker, depth at full-back and depth on the left wing, we're going to be a hell of a team. But I do think that Kudus was that good. He's possibly going to be starting games, and I think we might see Paquetá starting a lot more on the left, actually, because he's probably the best option there. So yeah, absolutely thrilled with what I saw on that one. And also just saying it's not just about if Bowen were to go that Kudus could take his place. Because the transfer window has been so good, even if it's not Kudus, and there's another one, I sort of have faith at the moment that whoever we were to go out and buy would thrive and would do well. I think whoever the replacement would be, we'd go and get a good one. But as I say, I'd like to keep Bowen. But I do think it also helps our our contractual negotiations with him, because I think there might have been a time where Bowen might have been able to say, well, without me, you're screwed. I'm not sure that that's the case. But hopefully he signs a new deal, and we've got an interesting selection headache on our hands. But don't be surprised if Kudus plays in different positions, and obviously Jarrod Bowen as well, as he's shown in the past. And Mavropanos, my word, he's huge. He is a monster. I mean, he's tall, but I mean, he's Chunkenstein, right? He is massive, that geezer. He really is. But I tell you what, he doesn't seem to be inhibited by the timber he's carrying. That makes him seem fat. He's not fat, clearly he's not fat. He's just a solid old bloke, isn't he, really? And but he's fast, he's nimble, and very, very impressive. I'm saying we did our Patreon player ratings. There's a free trial on Patreon at the moment, by the way, if you want to go and get involved. 7-day free trial, link is in the description below. We did our player ratings this morning for the game against TSC, and I was just talking about to a few of the patrons and to Gio on that do not be surprised if you hear quite a few times this season that Mavropanos heads in, assisted by Ward Prowse. He is... Well, he probably should have scored from a header in that game. He will score goals. It is absolute menace in the air. He really is. Really good on the deck as well, it seems. Made a couple of crunching tackles. There was a double tackle towards the end of that game. Bang, bang. And they were legal tackles, they were good tackles, but they would have hurt. Not Mavropanos, the recipient. They would have hurt the recipient. And I just think, you know what, you've got somebody like that. He's attritional enough to appeal to David Moyes, but I also think he's got enough subtlety about him in terms of his passing and the way he travels with the ball, that he'll also, he can assist the way that sometimes if we're trying to break a team down, then he brings an extra level of passing there as well. So, yeah, I was very, very excited to see both of them. Clearly, Kudus stole the show. But in terms of looking at players we've brought in, players that we've signed, just think, they've done a pretty damn good job. And talk about Declan Rice, I think, two of them are nailed on, first teamers, in terms of Edson Alvarez and James Ward Prowse. And you've got someone in Kudus who's probably highly likely to be a first teamer as well. And then the other one's going to be a heavily utilised squad player who may break his way into the first team. That's pretty impressive stuff, really. I'm absolutely thrilled with it. But yeah, do you know what? You can do no more than when a new player comes in and you watch him play and you think, I cannot wait to see him play again. I cannot wait. And that's certainly the case with Kudus. I cannot wait to see him play the next time. But you know what? I feel the same with Ward Prowse, and I feel the same with Edson Alvarez. All completely different players, of course. And yeah, absolutely thrilled. And you know what? As I said at the start of this morning's video, it's actually, we weren't at our best at times during that game. We struggled to break them down, but that's a really good result. He churns them out in Europe, Moyes. He knows how to do these group stages. He really does. You've only got to look, as I mentioned earlier, to what happened to Aston Villa, what happened to Brighton. This is not an easy thing. Premier League, Europe, League Cup, Europe. It's not easy. It is not easy at all. And I think he's got a system. He really does. David Moyes has. So, yeah, fair play. Anyway, all's good. And, I'm sure, much like myself, you're looking forward to seeing a little bit more of Mohammed Kudus.